Hello and welcome to FPL Waffle, a look ahead to game week 4, a review of game week 3. I'm just going to try and summarize briefly my thoughts regarding, everything that's coming up in FPL game week 4 onwards. And just some top tips really as to what to do. So, without further ado, let's head in to the screen share where we can see that this week I actually did well. I did pretty decently, 66 points on an average week of 44. Game week rank 300,000. I've gone from 3 mil in the world to 287k, which at this stage of the season doesn't mean loads, but it means I'm in the right ballpark. It's back where I want to be. Very pleased about that. And this is kind of how I did it. So Pickford 2 points was frustrating. Wolves scoring late on in the game, but again, it is what it is. Pickford still has some good fixtures coming up, which is why I bought him. We've got the likes of Sheffield, Luton, Bournemouth are still coming up. So it's not the end of the world, but a bit frustrating. He still hasn't returned for us. At the back, okay, Estepinian and Saliba disappointing, but Gusto was the jam that I got this week. 14-point haul. I mean it's partially logical, but a lot of luck, right? That he smashed Chilwell, and the only reason I did it is to keep Salah, who also got me an assist this week. Rashford and Fernandez finally came through with some returns, which was lovely. Saka on pens, which I said last week, it looked like Odegaard's on pens, but then there was an interview that came out of Odegaard, which basically is saying whichever one of them fancies it at the time takes it. So Saka still has a decent chance of taking, a decent number of the pens. Nakamba had to come on for one because of Gabriel. Unfortunately, he's got to go now at some point. And then Jackson up front came free for me, which I was able to afford by going to Gusto. So I was pleased with that. Haaland captain missed a penalty, but still scored. Okay return, sort of cancelled everyone else out that had him captain as per usual. And then the bench, not much to report really. Turner would have done better than Pickford. Gabriel, like I said, is going to be sold soon. Archer now at Sheffield is nice. And Bulldog against City, you're just never going to expect much, are you? So, yeah, very pleased this game week. I'm back where I want to be in terms of the rankings and stuff. Looking ahead to next week, we have got, looking at the fixtures. Um, but let's do that in a sec. We'll look at my team, look at what my team looks like, and then we'll look at the fixtures and I'll give you some tips. So, my team, we've got Pickford in goal. Like I said, away to Sheffield, decent. I've got Baldock in there for now, home to Everton. I just think, again, it was a sort of thing I did the other week where there was a Forest defender and Sheffield defender, and I hoped for at least one of them would get a clean sheet, which didn't work out. But same sort of logic this week, both poor attacks. I'd like to think one of those might get a clean sheet, so I've got both of them. Hopefully, at least one of them might get a return. Then outside of that, we've got Estepinian against Newcastle. Not expecting a clean sheet there, but you never know because we're at home. Gusto against Forest, another great fixture. Saliba against United, you never know. Midfield wise, Rashford, Saka, Fernandez playing each other is a bit tricky, but then I've got Salah against Villa, which is nice. Villa are one of the top teams in terms of conceding chances apparently at the moment. So even though they're playing well and scoring goals, a bit like Brighton, they're also a team that can see goals and concede chances. So very happy with that. Very happy I kept him, providing he doesn't go off to Saudi, which so far nothing's been confirmed with that. If anything, I'd say it's looking more likely he stays from the reports, but you just don't know for definite. There's plenty of time, for things to change and develop. And then Jackson home to Forest, Haaland captain up front against Fulham. Fulham again, one of the leakiest defences. With Haaland, you have to captain him this week, I think, unless you're a bit crazy. That's the team, and then the bench. Nothing really to report. Archer now looks like a good first bench. At home to Everton, Sheffield strike. You'd expect him to start. Very pleased with that. And like I said, Gabriel is kind of ready to be sold. Now, I have a free transfer this week, as you know, you always do have at least one, but I'm thinking I'm going to roll it because I think this team looks good enough. And worst case, like I said, I've got Archer on the bench. I'm very tempted to bring in like someone like Rico Henry for Gabriel because they're home to Bournemouth and he's decent moving forward, but my thing with that is then I won't have two free transfers for game week 5, which is after the international break. It's after the transfer deadline, transfer window deadline. Um, and a lot can change with all those things taken into account, like of injuries and transferred players, like Salah might have gone by then, for example. So I just really feel like, and this is kind of going to be my top advice to you. I think if you can roll the transfer this week, you roll it. To be honest, I think unless you've got a really good reason, like your starting 11 stinks, and there's a player that you just particularly are desperate to get in this week, and you're happy with them moving forward and stuff, and I think you just roll it. Because then you've got all the information to work with after the international break and the transfer deadline gone. You've got two free transfers to patch up things that might need patching up and to target key players. An example of someone you might want to target is the likes of Akira and Trippier or some of the Newcastle assets because they enter a really nice fixture run. So having a couple of transfers there might be a really strong play. In terms of other players you might want to target this week, if you had a transfer that you really wanted to make, Brentford at home to Bournemouth, like I sort of just mentioned, very good fixture. If you haven't got Brian and Bomber already, it might not be the worst idea to get him in this week. Another option for me, I could potentially do Rashford to Mbomo, and then after the international break, I'll have enough funds to do Gabriel up to Trippier, which, providing I could be guaranteed there's no transfers and no injuries, I'd probably do it this week. But I don't have any guarantees of that. So having Baldock at home to Everton doesn't really seem that much better. Um, in my team, and actually I'd have him anyway, wouldn't I, if I did the Rashford transfer. But like if I did the Rico Henry to um bring him in instead of Gabriel transfer, like there's not a huge difference there, I don't think. So that's what I'm pointing about. Like if there's a really pressing move, and even then, like with my Rashford example, like Rashford's a player that can score against anyone. He scored at the Emirates last year, so it's like it just doesn't seem essential to make. So unless you're desperate, try and roll the transfer. But anyway, if you really want to bring someone in and need to bring someone in, yeah, Brentford could be a team to target. They've also got a continued reasonable fixture run from then on. Chelsea, it's still not too late to hop on them if you want another player like Sterling's looking great. He's targeting to be their top goal scorer this season. Things like that are quite tempting with him. Chilwell, if you don't have him like me, like yeah, I think you can't go wrong if you try and bring him in this week. Um, Same with Jackson. Gusto, you might not have loads of weeks left for him if Reece James is coming back, but yeah, that's a bit of a 50-50 call, I think, depending on your team. I wouldn't say he should be a priority at all. If you can do something else, I'd do something else. Eze for Palace, not bad differential. Good fixtures on the whole coming up. On penalties, set pieces, playing really well for them, etc. But again, there's so many good midfield options. He might not be the best. Liverpool now, all of a sudden, their fixtures just look a whole lot nicer. So I don't really know what you quite do there. But like, if you could afford to get to a Trent, if you could afford to bring in Salah, it might be worth a play. Even Luis Diaz is looking pretty good. If you want a wild punt on Darwin Núñez after his two goals at Newcastle, if you really have this faith that like he's now gonna have his career turned around and is gonna smash it, then why not have a bit of fun? But I think I wouldn't be quite ready to risk that just yet. City still have a great run. Home to Fulham is about as good as it gets. So if you wanted someone like an Alvarez or hope that Foden starts this week, you could go there. Even Newcastle this week. Now they're like I said, next game week their fixtures turn, but away to Brighton this week. As a Brighton fan, I know we can see goals, so it might not be a bad week to jump on the Newcastle bandwagon. But again, like I said, with that international break lingering, I'm just a bit more reluctant to commit to a transfer this week until afterwards. Spurs are an interesting one because they've still got two good fixtures there. Then they have two hard ones before another load of good ones. So, and are there any Spurs players screaming out to be bought? I think Madison, but he's so injury prone. He could get injured any week. Son isn't doing what you'd expect him to and want him to. Defensively, they're conceding goals. I'm not convinced there's a Spurs player that you're just thinking I have to have. Madison, if you want to just hope he doesn't get injured, you can't go too far wrong, but you just got to be prepared to accept if he gets an injury, you're going to have to deal with it. Like he went out on crutches the other week as a precautionary thing. You just think if that's how sort of fragile his legs are, it's not ideal. But hopefully he doesn't get injured. He's a great player. And then a 1 week punt, Jared Bowen at Luton. Luton's looking like the best fixture you can get, and he's just scored at Brighton, had a good pre-season. And then he is home to Sheffield there, to be fair. It's like if you've got a team that's set up where you can sort of bench him for a couple of weeks or even have a punt at playing him in these weeks, like he might not be the worst differential shout in the world. Like even if he cashes in say both of these games, and maybe nicks an assist in one of these or something, like you've done well for yourself. So anyway, there's some thoughts of players to target, fixtures, etc. And the bus team that Scouts put together this week involves these players. So these are particularly players you'd want to target this week, hence why the Bowen's there, etc. But as I mentioned, Bomo, good fixture this week and moving forward. Same with Eze, same with the Chelsea boys. City, if you wanted to put in someone other than Haaland, Madison, as we've mentioned. Anderson's an interesting one. Apparently, he's got a very high sort of stats in terms of goal, like XG, kind of goal and assist potential, as well as the clean sheet chance. So yeah, he's an interesting one. If you want just a wild punt, home to Wolves is a pretty decent fixture this week for a cleaner. And then Ariola in goal, great 4 million keeper at the moment. He's proving to be. So yeah, that's the bus team for the Scout website. And to be honest, I think we'll leave it there. I don't want to talk much more. Basically, the overriding message is if you can roll the transfer this week, roll the transfer. But if you urgently need to make a transfer as a player you particularly want, they're going to look good long term. Or yeah, obviously you've got 2 free transfers this week and need to use at least one of them, then some of the things I've shared hopefully are helpful prompts towards what to do. So yeah, we'll leave it there. Hope you have a good game week. Hope you enjoy FPL and the Premier League more than anything else. And for now, yeah, enjoy the rest of your day /evening / whenever you're watching this.